The 8-year assault on your Second Amendment freedoms has come to a crashing end. I like taking the guns early. Take the guns first, go through due process second.
Well, I say go fuck yourself. Then ask a question, could I kill a man? I would enjoy myself. You can't disguise evil eyes that burn over my head. This devil man and his master plan. We feel so misled, so I say, rise up, take all that. Rise up, take it all back. Rise up. Hope you all understand. We got to take it all back again.
These people are not going to take it any longer. We will never give up. We will never concede. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. But go home and go home in peace. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. You do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Oh, I was running just a tad bit late. That's all right. Looks like other people are running late, so it's no big deal. Oh my goodness. So today's been fun. Not really. I don't know. We got a few things accomplished around the house. I got some editing done that I needed to get done for another person that I'm doing videos for. So I'm pretty happy about that. I've been putting that off for a while. And it'll help, got the house kind of cleaned up. Tonight we will be trying our first ever, for both of us, both me and Red Girl have never had dry aged steak. I'm a little concerned by it. I decided not to do it myself, even though I've watched enough videos on it. I could probably dry age my own steak with the equipment that you can buy. However, with doing that, there's a lot of waste in a steak. But we had gotten a dry age already done. Looks pretty good. It's a boneless ribeye. And it's a small one. It was pretty expensive for just the small one. But we're going to try it. See if it tastes decent. Looking forward to it. Yeah, me too. Probably be doing that after this. I'll tell you what, we did sweet pickled cauliflower. I don't know if I told you guys about that on another one or not, but my goodness, that is delicious. So our neighbor Joyce had said, oh, you know what I miss? I can't find it anymore. And we're like, what's that? Sweet pickled cauliflower. And I was like, yeah, I've never heard of that. I mean, I've seen spicy pickled cauliflower or just regular pickled cauliflower. And I know of sweet pickles and bread and butter pickles and stuff like that, but I've never seen sweet pickled cauliflower. So we decided to make some, and that was an absolute hit, and we will be making more of that. Let me know if you guys are interested in learning how to make it, because it is absolutely wonderful. I thought it was going to be too much sugar. The recipe that we used, it's like, man, that's going to be a lot. That's going to be way too sweet, but it wasn't. It was actually really pleasant. Other than that, tonight, we are going to be talking about some controversial things. Update. The Poison Stinger channel, the main channel, I had appealed the decision on the strike, and they did get back to me. They've decided to uphold the strike, which means we will not be back on the Poison Stinger channel until a week from yesterday, I believe. So we'll be on the Poison Stinger 2 channel and on D-Live for all my D-Live viewers. What's up, D-Live? Until the strike is not removed, but the week has run out. So that sucks, but it is what it is. And tonight we're going to be talking about the same kind of stuff that we talked about on the video that got me in trouble. So I'm going to walk on eggshells and try very hard not to get in trouble on this one, but we shall see. There's some good news here tonight. First of all, though, St. Louis is suing Missouri for the Second Amendment sanctuary law. St. Louis and adjoining St. Louis County filed a lawsuit Monday seeking to block Missouri's new law barring states and local authorities from enforcing federal gun laws, saying contrary to the evidence that the law would increase the risk of gun violence. If you come and try to take it, the whole come and take it doesn't actually mean I'm going to give it up willingly. I almost wish I had worn my come and take it shirt today. This suit, filed in Cole County Circuit Court, seeks an injunction to halt enforcement of the law and to overturn it on the grounds that it violates the Constitution Supremacy Clause, which has established that federal law trumps state law. I don't know much about that, but the United States Constitution says shall not be infringed. So you're saying that the federal law that is contradicting the Constitution, I don't know. The law, which Republican Governor Mike Parson signed this month, would subject law enforcement agencies with officers who knowingly enforce any federal gun laws to a fine of about $50,000 per violating officer. This is the one sheriff that resigned. He had only been in a sheriff for like a year, I believe. We watched a video on that before. And he'd resigned because, the officer themselves are going to get a $50,000 fine. Republican lawmakers who championed the legislation said they were motivated by the possibility that gun restrictions could be tightened by President Joe Biden's administration. Democrats said the law is unconstitutional and predicted it wouldn't survive a court challenge. Democratic St. Louis Mayor Tarisha Jones said the law is not only unconstitutional, but dangerous. She noted that 2020 was among the deadliest years ever for gun violence in Missouri. St. Louis had its deadliest year in a half a century. Kansas City, meanwhile, saw a record number of killings last year. St. Louis County Executive Sam Page, also a Democrat, said the region can't prosper if people don't feel safe. Not if you are safe. You have to feel safe. This new law is like the state holding out a sign that says, "Come commit gun violence here, Page said in a statement. How is that? How is that? The new law is like a state... Oh, I already read that part. The U.S. Department of Justice, in a letter last week, warned Missouri officials... The U.S. Department of Justice, in a letter last week, warned Missouri officers that the state can't ignore federal law. I'm telling you, man, states and the country. Oh, thank you, Riddle. I will do that one too. We'll do that one as the third story. The U.S. Department of Justice, in a letter last week, warned Missouri officials that the state can't ignore federal law. Parson and Attorney General Eric Schmidt responded that they still plan to enforce the new law. Okay, so there's a little bit of a showdown. Schmidt's spokesman, Chris Newell, called the lawsuit a partisan maneuver by progressive politicians. We will continue our efforts to prosecute violent crime, and we will not shy away from defending the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, Newell said. The state law also prompted the resignation, which we watched that, of a police chief of O'Fallon, a St. Louis suburb that is home to about 89,000 people and the state's seventh largest city. The outgoing chief, Philip Dupreez, said in a statement this month that the law would decrease public safety and increase frivolous lawsuits designed to harass and penalize good, hard-working law enforcement agencies. Good, hard-working, trying to take your rights away. Several states passed similar laws this year, including Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Montana, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia. I'm not sure about Texas. We have a story about Texas we're going to get to here really quickly. Missouri law went further than most, though, in its possible punishments for officers who don't enforce federal... Let me reread that. Missouri's law went further than most in its possible punishments for officers who enforce federal gun laws. And that's the thing, right? The sheriff was saying how, well, he doesn't mind if it goes after the sheriff or after the office, but going after individual officers was just too much. Well, here's the thing. If the law enforcement agency gets sued, that just comes out of the taxpayers' money. It doesn't come out of the officer's money. Several states also passed similar laws during Barack Obama's time in the White House, but judges ruled against them. So we'll see. We'll see where this one goes. We will be keeping an eye on it here for sure. Excuse me. We have a little bit of guns and gadgets to watch. This is also about Missouri. So this kind of coincides with it. Hopefully everything's working, and we will play it.
We're going to talk about Missouri and the Second Amendment Preservation Act that you've seen here on this channel as it evolved. Well, it was signed into law, and the Second Amendment Preservation Act, among other things, it stops the ability of local and state authorities, police, etc., from assisting the federal government in enforcing any governmental, unconstitutional gun control. Now, because that was a big platform for the Biden administration to get elected, he's trying to follow through on some of those promises. But states like Missouri and Tennessee and Texas and Oklahoma have signed laws stating that it's not going to happen here, which caused Biden's administration to have the Department of Justice send a letter to the Attorney General and the Governor of Missouri saying that your new law is trying to nullify federal law and therefore is unconstitutional, and we demand an answer to this. And they gave him a couple days. Well, the very next day, Attorney General Eric Schmidt and Governor Parson responded, and their response was awesome. They called out the Biden administration. They said, first off, we're not nullifying anything. And what we've done here is protect the rights of people in our state, our citizens. But they said that they're not nullifying any federal law, just stopping people in the state from enforcing unconstitutional laws. Now,
so if you want to, here's the thing. I think what they're going for, and this is just my opinion, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my opinion that they're saying we will not allow our officers to enforce your laws. If you want to have that federal law, bring your own damn federal agencies into our state and conduct your shit, but we will not allow our officers here to do your dirty work for you. And of course, They don't want to do that.
Response to Biden's DOJ bobos, they cited constitutional law in where they were correct under the 10th Amendment. And among other things, the AG and governor said that we do not get our rights from a king, a queen, or the government. The Second Amendment is a fundamental right, and this is the will of the legislature in Missouri. Now, it's worth noting that AG Schmidt in Missouri is one of the 23 attorneys general who are urging the United States Supreme Court to deem New York's licensing scheme for gun permits under the Second Amendment, to deem it as unconstitutional. In that case, I think it's going to be a landmark case, and we'll stay tuned for that. You can subscribe to this channel if you want to know more about that. But one of the things the Biden administration specifically cited was the Supremacy Clause. For those who aren't aware of the Supremacy Clause, if you have a state law and a federal law that are in conflict of each other, meaning this one okays something that this one doesn't, then the federal law would take precedent. It would be the supreme law of the land. However, that does not apply if the federal law contradicts the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
Which is what all...
This is what I'm saying, right? You can't make a federal law that contradicts the Constitution. Shall not be infringed. I don't know how they think they can get away with this shit. But you come at any kind of... Well, shit. Any kind... Suppressors not being freely available is an infringement. Fully automatic not being fully available for everybody is an infringement. Every fucking state that makes you get a permit to carry is an infringement. California, New York, every state that limits you on magazine capacity is an infringement. Every one that says you can't have this feature on this gun is an infringement that should...
meaning this one okays something that this one doesn't, then the federal law would take precedent. It would be the supreme law of the land. However, that does not apply if the federal law contradicts the U.S. Constitution.
Exactly.
Which is what all of Biden's gun control does. So in my opinion here, again, just my opinion, the Second Amendment Preservation Act in Missouri would not be overruled by the federal law, because the federal law is in violation of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. So the AG in Missouri has said they are prepared to fight this all the way. If Biden ends up launching a suit through his attorney general, they will fight it and prove that they are correct in defending our rights. And also, it should be noted that the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County, both entities, have also sued the state, saying the same thing, that the Second Amendment Preservation Act is looking to nullify federal law. And if you read these things, they don't nullify anything. What they do is they say, look, ATF, whoever, ATF, ICE, FBI, you want to...
All right, let me pause that. I got Mule's in the house. Mule's in the house. I gotta talk to Mule. Mule, by the way, that video of your kid, or of your grandkid, amazing. Enjoying your trip. There was a lot of beer in that kiddie pool, says Real Girl. Oh man, I keep missing it. What? Why are you watching Broken Patriot without me? You could say, hey, Stinger, I'm watching Broken Patriot. You want to watch? Like, yeah, sure. Why not? Hey, buddy, what did you get the strike for? I've been out of the loop. Well,
I showed you the kiddie pool full of beer.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh man, I apologize. I got a bad memory. So we had a strike for spamming and scamming, because I questioned the outcome of a certain thing that happened in 2020 in November, which I appealed and was denied. So I thought I wrote a pretty good appeal. I was like, I don't question it at all. I think President Biden is totally legit. But it is what it is. So we're over here. That's technically all my strikes had fallen off. So now technically that's my first strike. I'll be back on the main channel probably on Monday, I'm guessing. Monday next week. A whole lot. So we all need laws now. So are all weed laws now invalid? No, there's nothing in the Constitution about weed. I'm talking about the Constitution with the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed. If Biden does... Okay, so Missouri said that we're doing the Second Amendment Preservation Act, and if an officer from our state helps the feds seize somebody's firearms, we're going to fine them $50,000 for the officer, not the sheriff's office, where the taxpayers would end up paying for it, but the officer himself. And that's why the sheriff left and resigned, right? And now Biden is coming in and saying, no, you can't do that because federal law trumps state law, right? But the state now responds saying no, because the Constitution says shall not be infringed, and federal law, if it violates the Constitution, is invalid. And as far as weed goes, man, that should have been totally legal the whole damn time, in my opinion. But there's no constitutional, argument for it. You did 2 videos today. Well, you're busy. I'm busy too, but just not on videos all the time. It's a good question, BP. I will certainly set a precedent if this is allowed, tolerated by the people. I think a lot of people in the United States, if it was a vote on federally legalizing it, like if we could do that, I think it would win. I think it would. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to watch all your videos, BP. I've been pretty busy today. Yeah, we've been really busy. All right, let's rewind just a little bit.
ETF, ICE, FBI, you want to do your federal investigations or work in our state, you can do that.
Yep.
But we're not going to help you. We're not going to give 1 nickel towards your help.
Nice.
And good luck with manpower.
Yeah, plus a $50,000 fine for knowingly/willingly violating the Second Amendment of Missouri citizens. I'm glad he added that.
Going to give 1 nickel towards your help, and good luck with manpower. And that's basically what they say in a nutshell. So good on the AG and the governor of Missouri for standing tall, standing for the citizenry, standing for our rights. It's a really good thing to see. Good on the other states who have just signed them in as well, Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee. But things are happening and states are standing up in defiance of Bobo and his administration, and it is really refreshing to see. It's exactly what is needed. I have one other thing to tell you about this whole scenario in Missouri. The St. Louis chief of police recently resigned his position over the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And the reason he gave was that the Second Amendment Preservation Act would cause legal jeopardy, or could cause legal jeopardy for the rank and file officers from doing their job if they had to seize a firearm during an investigation. Well, I would say if the gun was seized incorrectly and unconstitutionally, then there should be some type of backlash for that. We've seen far too often things get done just because, but they weren't done legally or constitutionally, and the Second Amendment is no different. So if this chief thinks that he can't operate constitutionally, or get his police department to operate constitutionally, then maybe it's best he's not there for that job. Maybe he's not the best person for that job. But the Second Amendment Preservation Act, if you don't violate people's rights, doesn't cause an issue. And I would say the Constitution does that as well, and that's kind of how it should be. So all eyes are on the back and forth between Washington, D.C. and Missouri. I don't know why I'm doing that, but you know what I mean. If you want to stay up to snuff.
All right, that's all I'm going to play of that. And next is Texas. Yeah, I will be making a dry aged steak. We've never had a dry aged steak. We decided that we're going to try it. And hopefully I don't mess it up, because it wasn't cheap. Luckily, we didn't have to pay too much for it ourselves, because we got a deal. Texans can carry handguns without a license or training starting September 1st after Governor Greg Abbott signs permitless carry bill into law. Not constitutional carry, supposedly. So everybody thinks that Texas got constitutional carry, but as far as I know, at least Riddle thinks that they did not get constitutional carry. They only got permitless carry. Well, let's read about it and find out. Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and other Republicans who were initially non-committal about the bill were under immense political pressure this session from conservatives and gun right advocates who have long lobbied the Texas legislation for permitless carry. Signed up for the brief, our daily newsletter that keeps readers up to the second yada yada. Texans can carry handguns without a license or training starting September 1st after Governor Greg Abbott on Wednesday signed a permitless carry bill into law. House Bill 1927 limits the requirement for Texan residents to obtain a license to carry handguns if they're not prohibited by the state or federal law from possessing a gun. This signing was reported by the Texas legislature's official website, which tracks the progress of legislation. Abbott's office has announced a ceremonial signing of the bill under other gun-related legislation at 11 a.m. Thursday. Abbott's signature seals a win to conservative activists who have long sought the measure without success. Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and other Republicans who were initially non-committal about the bill were under immense political pressure this session from conservatives and gun right advocates who have long lobbied the Texas legislature for permitless carry, but historically struggled to win support. Before approving the bill, the Senate tacked on several amendments to address concerns by law enforcement groups that oppose permitless carry, worried it would endanger officers and make it easier for criminals to get guns. Do you not get the whole point of if you're legally allowed to carry that gun, you can have it? The criminal that's not legally allowed to have that gun is going to carry it whether there's a law saying he can or not. The compromise lawmakers reached behind closed doors kept intact a number of changes in the Senate made it to the House bill, including striking the provision that would have barred officers from questioning people based only on their possession of a handgun. Let me reread that because I didn't understand it. The compromise lawmakers reached behind closed doors kept intact a number of changes the Senate made to the House bill, including striking a provision that would have barred officers, from questioning people based only on their possession of a gun. So if you have a firearm, open carry in Texas, the officer is allowed to come up to you and question you. Okay. The deal also preserves a Senate amendment enhancing for the criminal penalties for felons and family violence offenders caught carrying. Among other Senate changes that made it into law was a requirement that the Texas Department of Public Safety offer a free online course on gun safety. Well, that's good. You should always take your free online gun safety online course, though. I mean, come on, an online course. That means you have a website with some words on it and pictures. Proponents of what Republicans called constitutional carry argue that Texas should follow the lead of at least 20 other states with similar laws on the book. Meanwhile, gun control advocates are disappointed the legislature made it easier to carry firearms after repeated instances of gun violence, including the 2019 massacre in El Paso and Midland, Odessa, that left 30 people dead. Guess what, though? That was before that they had this law that you could open carry a firearm. I wonder, I hope they charged them for carrying a firearm without a permit. It still happened. Even before this. The permitless carry bill will cause more violence and loss, said U.S. Representative Veronica Escobar from El Paso in a statement Wednesday. Despite overwhelming support for common sense gun violence prevention legislation like universal background checks, Texas Republicans, led by a cowardly governor, are more interested in groveling for the gun lobby's attention than they are in preventing gun violence and honoring victims and survivors in El Paso and across Texas. Every damn time I think about moving to Texas. A solid majority of Texas voters don't think permitless carry should be allowed, according to April University of Texas /Texas Tribune poll. But the permitless carry law was signed. Texans generally need to be licensed to carry handguns openly or concealed. Applicants have had to submit fingerprints, complete 4 to 6 hours of training, and pass a written exam and a shooting proficiency. You can shoot good. Texas does not require a license to openly carry a rifle in public. But I tell you what, if you open carry a rifle in public, if it's an AR-15 and you're going downtown Dallas or El Paso, I'm pretty sure they're going to get stopped by a police officer 1 billion times. The permitless carry movement saw a breakthrough in April when the House passed the HB 1927. Patrick initially said the Senate did not have the votes for permitless carry, but he created a new committee, referred HB 1927 to it, and got it to the floor where it passed in early May. So there you go. Texas is not constitutional carry. They are permitless carry with a lot of freaking restrictions, apparently. You've been dealing with a toothache this whole trip, bro. I know all about toothaches. Yeah. I had I have a lot of broken teeth, and a piece of one broke off, but it was attached to the gum, so it was dangling. Oh, man, that was painful. I had to go in there and pull it out. That was a lot of pain. Yes, went to the Crackle Barrel today to celebrate Mom's 60th birthday. I'll tell you what, I'll never go to a Crackle Barrel ever again. The last one I went to was such a bad experience. Yeah, that's time. That's maybe another conversation time. It's nothing against, constitutionality, but face mask. Yeah. I'll tell you real quick. We went in there, no face mask. We went to our table, no face mask. Ate our food, no face mask. Everybody else was wearing one. We get up, we go and to pay our meal. We pay for it. And after it's approved and after I've signed my thing, she says, by the way, next time, make sure you're wearing your face mask in here. It's required. You didn't do that the whole damn time when I was in there before. We went through the store before we paid. You wait until I pay to give me that shit? Fuck you. That's what I said. I'm done with it. Crackle Barrel is pretty good, though. I ain't gonna lie. Tasty food. I can make better food than that, though. My brother, I'm glad. Congratulations to your mother's 60th birthday. I hope all is well. I hope she had a great, happy birthday. Sorry. Didn't mean to go off on, I took my mother out to, fuck Crackle Barrel. No. I hope she had a great birthday. My brother confirmed its permanent list and validated by this news article and others. I'm thinking about Ohio. Really? You thinking about moving, Broken Patriot? But you love Arizona, bro. Why would you go to Ohio? Did you say hi to Guns Coast to Coast? All right. Here it is. I'm going to be handling this with kid gloves because I only got 2 channels and I do not have a Poison Stinger 3. Because it's round on both ends and high in the middle. I get you. Fake news faces identity crisis after failing to discredit certain people's opinions about what happened last year in November. Former Hardball host Matt Nergan's campaign to ban deniers from what happened in November of last year from television news failed to achieve its original goal to prevent a significant number of Americans from believing that Trump may or may not have had more votes. Can I say that? Instead, it has provoked a persistent debate over leftist media over the role of political journalists, along with illustrating how television news and politicians who depend upon its cameras have changed. While long trending in the direction of overt bias, which gained steam in the post-Watergate era, the industry en masse shed every semblance of objectivity following Trump's 2016 victory. The result was a disgraceful parade of media malpractice throughout the Republican president's first term in office. Some, such as Time magazine, even acknowledged joining a cabal of institutions that conspired to oust the iconoclastic leader. Well, as I said, you can talk about 2016 and how Trump, with Russia's help, beat Hillary Clinton. I could talk about that all day. Russian collusion absolutely happened. All right, I can talk about that all day long. Others, such as New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, have admitted to discarding impactful coverage of issues like China's role in unleashing the sniffles supply simply because Trump came out in support of it. So if Trump didn't say that China was at fault, then they would have been saying China was at fault. But since Trump said it was China's fault, can't have that. Can't agree with that. What's up, Irish? How you doing? I need you and Riddle to build my new PC first. Well, you got to give me money. And here's another thing. Good luck finding parts. My goodness. We're trying to build Riddle's computer. So if you look right here, there's a little black box with a white outline. That is her new computer case that we're going to be putting parts into. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find certain things like graphics cards and CPUs. Stuff like that. Negan, who is now produced at Comedy Central's Daily Show, that's a step down, wrote a December column for the Washington Post saying that TV journalists who invited Republicans on air should begin by asking if they believe Biden is amazing and the best president ever. If they don't say yes, he demanded the interview should be shut down or should end. He's aggressively continued the effort on his own personal Twitter account, saying mainstream news programs that book office holders who voted against accepting election results are helping to spread misinformation. Yeah, they should all be banned. Absolutely. Wait, where's this button? Okay. They should all be banned. Absolutely. Horrible people. Conservatives, long victimized by the left's echo chamber, brazen efforts to control the news cycle and political messaging, contended that the opposite is true. They point to failures, including dishonest coverage of Trump's now discredited Russian collusion scandal, the Hunter Biden laptop, the sniffles, and the war in Afghanistan. Among the many recent examples that show partisan left disinformation thriving in the mainstream media. Earlier this year, conservative watchdog Project Veritas even caught on tape top CNN producer admitting that the network had propagandist anti-Trump agenda. Yeah, you know what? I bet you there are more people that would agree with that than that would think that something didn't go down in November that should have went down. You know what I'm saying? Code words. Indeed, many of the industry's most obtrusious critics of conservative coverage, such as Nergin, make no bones of concealing their own political leanings and ethic conflicts of interest. Among the ways that left-wing journalists have continued to manipulate coverage is through false framing of issues, and their own bias problem is no exception. Outlets like the Associated Press refuse to consider the evidence violating vote darfing concerns. Instead, they paint it as a choice between ignoring skeptics entirely or subjecting them to harsh scrutiny to reach the inevitable, predetermined goal of invalidating their perspective. Well, we are now on Poison Stinger 2 because I may or may not have. I didn't watch the video because, that was a week or so ago. But here comes the next round of strikes on my channel because we can't talk about certain things. Isn't that great? Love it. I have everything but a GPU. Yeah, good luck. The processor has a built-in graphics. Okay, but you ain't gonna... Okay. Unsurprisingly, two Sunday morning hosts for rival and ideological opposite network, CNN Jake Tapper and Fox News Chris Wallace, revealed themselves as polar opposites on the point. Tapper, like most of the leftist outlets where he works, has worn his policies on his sleeve since assuming his current role. Wallace, meanwhile, although often rumored to lean leftward, yeah, he has been rumored that hardcore. In fact, in 2016, when he was asking President Trump, do you condemn white nationalists? He asked him that in 2016. And then he asked it again in 2020. Bruh. Yeah, left-leaning. Although rumored to be left-leaning in his personal life, he has kept his views closely to the vest at the mostly conservative network. I don't think so. While it's not a formal policy, Tapper said he hasn't blocked election people on CNN's State of the Union and on his weekday show, The Lead. But it is unclear whether any would be willing to go on the network regardless of his booking policies. Yeah, because they're going to try to ridicule you, and you better come ready. You better come ready if you're going on there talking about that. It's a decision I think everyone in the news media should be having, Tapper told Politico. Should those who share the belief that something did happen in November that we can't really talk about, that incited the deadly attack on the Capitol. The one lady who got shot by a police officer unarmed. And that continues to erode confidence in our democracy. Be invited onto our airways to continue to spread the big lie. He editorialized. Ooh, I said that one. Can our viewers count on these politicians to tell the truth about other topics? Wallace on Fox News Sunday said he's willing to talk to all sides and he has no rules about the order of questions. I don't think moral posturing goes well with news gathering, Wallace said in a statement last month. When Senator Rick Scott from Florida appeared on his show on February 28th, Wallace asked whether Biden was the best president ever and won fair and square. Absolutely, Scott replied. Yet led by Trump and supported by a trove of witness advocates and other evidence, suspicions about what happened in November has remained strong. A Quinnipiac University poll taken 6 months after the election found 29% of Americans and 66% of Republicans surveyed said Biden was not the best president ever. Confronting people who don't think he's the best president ever is not a subject that many in the business are eager to address publicly. No one on NBC's Meet the Press, ABC's This Week, or CBS Face the Nation, for example, would speak to the Associated Press about it. The cancel culture impulse, even within the Fifth Estate, long considered the gatekeeper of a well-informed public, makes a far cry from the pre-Obama era. This issue may also be linked in some ways to the Great Recession, in which many independent, non-cooperative newspapers and other media outlets caved to the pressures of Google and social media-driven paradigms. It's also Operation Mockingbird. I know all you guys know about Operation Mockingbird. Mark Dice did a video about that. I think it was today or yesterday, possibly. I was thinking about playing it, but go check it out yourself if you want to. I haven't gotten all the way through it. I was watching a little bit of it. It looked pretty good, to be honest. Prior to that, political and media institutions considered compromised and consensuous in the marketplace of ideas to be democratic virtues of the highest order. Yeah, they liked, free press, except for Mockingbird was like in the 70s. Even those who were decidedly leftist in their personal views still considered it a duty and an obligation as journalists to have the other sides represented. Tim Russert, the former Meet the Press host, was the acknowledged king of Sunday morning political talk shows before his death in 2008. His former producer said Russert believed in exposing ideas that many found repugnant, such as a memorable 1991 interview with former KKK leader David Duke, who was running for governor of Louisiana. But Bessie Fischer Martin, executive producer of Meet the Press from 2002 to 2013, wonders how many such opportunities exist now, given the polarization of media networks themselves. It is human nature in many ways that you want to pick a program that is going to give you more of a platform than a tough interview, said Fisher Martin, executive director of Women's and Policy Institute at American University, yada, yada, yada. I think this is about where I'm going to end that. We got more on this. Anyway, they're having a hard time convincing people. The biggest part of this that I like, where was it? 29% of Americans, screw the 66% of Republicans, I don't care. 29% of Americans believe that President Biden is not the coolest president ever. That's a big percentage. That's almost a third. Ranked voting, absentee ballots leave New York City mayoral primaries ripe for disaster. Mark Dice's video was excellent. Yeah, what's up, Scrappy? How you doing? I haven't gotten all the way through it. I'm going to finish it later. Excellent. Yeah. I'm glad you came and found us on YouTube, man. Yeah, as you know, we got a strike. So I'm walking with kids' gloves tonight. With Democrats' controversial H.R. 1 election overhaul on the cusp of failure in the evenly divided Senate Tuesday, the New York City prepared for another case study in why lax and loosely regulated voting policies erode faith in a democratic system. If it's so easy to do, then it's easy to cheat. People on both sides, and I'd say it's a lot more than 29%, people on both sides don't want to feel like their vote didn't count. Everybody wants their vote to count. We just don't want your vote to count multiple times. Or my dead dad's vote to count. The race to succeed Mayor Bill de Blasio holds with it the fate of one of the world's most institutious and culturally influential cities. Oh, that was a hard sentence for me. I apologize. For many of the top issue is rising crime rates, the direct result of de Blasio's unabashedly anti-police policies could determine whether the Big Apple retains its status or whether it continues to witness the mass exodus of residents to more conservative regions like Florida. Among the woke left, the thing that happened in November also has serious stakes for advancing the cause of identity politics. They trumpet the fact that the city could get its first female mayor, its first Asian American mayor, or its second black mayor, depending on who comes out on top. But with the debut of the ranked voting system and a mountain of absentee ballots still at least a week away from being counted, it could be July before a winner emerges in the Democratic contest. Given the recent focus on widespread, things that DARFing, lots and lots of DARFing in urban centers throughout the country, this combination of variables could spell trouble for the city whose de facto Democratic headquarters, Tammany Hall, was long synonymous with political corruption. I think there was a period in there somewhere. In addition to the possibility of ballot stuffing or other DARFing factors, voter turnout may be a major factor. A ranked voting system means that if the leading candidate fails to reach a certain threshold, that person might not ultimately make the cut. For example, if a moderate candidate were to secure 49% of the overall vote, but radical left-wing candidates finished with higher ranked averages, it would ultimately fall to the ranking system to determine the winner. What? The potential for mathematical errors alone is a threat of King Kong-sized proportions. According to the recent polling, 4 Democrat candidates are locked into a tight single-digit race that could lead to more than a dozen rounds of reallocations of votes. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, a former police captain who co-founded a leadership group for black officers, has led in several recent polls, but he is closely trailed by former City Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia, a former de Blasio administration lawyer, Mara Wiley, with former presidential candidate Andrew Yang also in pursuit. After polls close at 9 p.m., the New York City... Yada. Interesting, though. Concerns over rising in shootings, other violent crimes. Hey, Stringer. All right, cool. All right, I'm done with that. That makes no sense. It doesn't to me. So if there's more than one Democratic candidate and there's only one Republican and the Republican's 49%, this is what I'm guessing. Back in the 90s, I think it was 92. Yeah, 92, when Ross Perot ran, it was Bill Clinton, Bush Sr., and Ross Perot, or Clinton. Yeah, Clinton, Bush, and Ross Perot. Well, Ross Perot ran as a Republican conservative. I mean, he did it as an independent, but, his base was conservative, right? So what ended up happening, and this is the reason why we had Clinton, was because he split the vote between himself and President Bush. And so Bill Clinton won. Now, my question is, this sounds a lot like, well, we don't want that kind of thing to happen, right? So the Republican can get 49%, but whoever wins the Democratic thing will just take over all the other people's votes and they'll win because all the other votes go now to the top guy or some shit like that. That's the best way I'm comprehending it. It's a way to arbitrarily throw out candidates. They can change it. They can change it year to year, election to election. Wow, creating loopholes. Free and honest. That's all we want. Free and honest. I think I did pretty well. I'm going to stop reading it because these two stories are... Well, actually, wait. No, yeah, because I missed out on a lot. Let's see if they talk about it anymore. Besides... Yeah, don't care about that. Vote tabulation is then... Okay, here we go. The ranked choice system approved for use in New York City primaries and special elections by referendum in 2019 lets voters rank up to 5 candidates on their ballots. Vote tabulation is then done to computerize rounds, with the person in last place getting eliminated each round. Okay? And ballots cast for that person, and ballots for that person getting redistributed to the surviving candidates. I kind of described that almost decent. Wow. That process continues only until only 2 candidates are left. The one with the most votes wins. Socialism, like, in your voting. Crazy. Facing failures, the Biden administration moves goalpost again on the sniffle shot rates. Although most of the legwork in the sniffle shot development and distribution plans was completed before President Joe took office, he nonetheless insists that it's his already revised goal to have 70% of all Americans shotted up by the July 4th holiday was an ambitious objective. Okay, so we're not going to hit 70% by July 4th, I guess. Regardless of whether it was ambitious or easily obtainable, the Democratic administration now appears poised to fall short of it. That in turn has prompted some revisionism in the White House, which is desperate for a decisive victory as artificially bolstered favorability numbers begin to dip. It comes amid other fiascos, including the border crisis, inflation, unemployment, and recent diplomatic failures in Iran and Russia, during which the administration likewise has sought to move the bars or redefine the underlying terms to make optics more favorable. Biden's supposed handling of the pandemic, largely due to earlier efforts of his predecessor, has been one of the few silver linings where he has continued to receive positive marks. But with the overall shot rates having plateaued around 65%, the White House was forced this week to deploy a bit of creative number crunching. Instead, it hyped the fact that more than 70% of Americans aged 30 or older had received at least one dose of the sniffle shot. As hope dimmed of persuading others in the adult population to partake in the shot, it also cast its sights on few demographics where progress still seemed penetrable. It was funny. We were driving down the highway here in Arizona, and it's still on the billboards. You know, the billboards that are over the overpasses that tell you stuff. Well, these are saying over 3.7 million Arizonans have already gotten rolled up their sleeves and gotten the shot. If you haven't, you should. I'm not trying to do peer pressure, like, oh, now you convinced me. Oh my goodness, I didn't think I was going to get that shot. I thought for sure it's not going to be safe, but you said 3.7 million Arizonans already got it. Well, shit, I don't want to be left out. Let me roll up my sleeve right now. The administration released new data on Tuesday showing it expected to reach 70% of Americans aged 27 or older with at least one shot by July 4th holiday, while a White House official said it is now rebounding its focus on shooting up younger Americans aged 18 to 26 who have proved to be the least likely to get the shot when it's available for them. I'm high risk and I'm old. I ain't getting shit. Even so, it faces several major hurdles. Y'all do whatever you want. I don't care. Evidence has shown that healthy individuals under the age of 65 have a low risk of suffering serious health consequences from the sniffles, unless mitigating risk factors or conditions are present. In fact, much of early fear-mongering that claimed the greatest danger was asymptomatic transmission now seems to be working against the scientific bureaucracy. Some sniffle skeptics, or shot skeptics, within the medical community argue that those who develop natural immunity may be better protected than those allow pharmaceutical companies to reprogram their genetic material, On the contrary, reports of younger shot recipients suffering heart inflammation and various adverse effects may be keeping away even some who might otherwise elect to be shotted up. Nonetheless, as an emergency meeting of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which was set to review cases of myocarditis and pericarditis in shot recipients under 30, was delayed after Biden administration unexpectedly signed into law a brand new national holiday, Juneteenth. Where has this country gone? Juneteenth is now a national holiday. It's way too arbitrary to throw out candidates. They change it. Okay, I read that part. It's on billboards nationwide, is it? I don't doubt it. There was also a Spanish billboard saying, be responsible, get the shot. LOL, the youngins are the least likely to have any problems, too. Yeah, I know. Well, they're the least likely to have any problems from actually getting the sniffles. They're the highest risk of having problems if they do get the shot. Supposedly, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't take medical advice from me. The new Delta variant is supposed to be more transmittable, more deadly, affects those already that have the shot, and is said to affect young people more than older folks. In addition to repeatedly moving the goalposts, Biden's administration's official also sought to downplay the idea that meeting any specific goal should be seen as a necessary metric for success. The White House said Biden's shot goal was less important than the pace of the nation's reopening, which was exceeding its own internal projections as overwhelming majority of the nation's most vulnerable people are fully shotted up and cases and deaths were at their lowest rate since the earliest days of the pandemic. That reopening effort is one area of that Republicans and Democrats now see poised to rally behind. Hey, we're going to have some bipartisanship. Yay! However, the administration's proposed $6 trillion budget set a particularly low bar for project economy growth, creating even more alarm that the skyrocketing inflation and cost of living increases could wind up further multiplying the national misery index. By the time we're able to buy a house, the money's going to be worth so little, it's not even going to matter. And one last story for you guys this evening. Migrant kids described desperation to escape from Biden's border cages. 13-year-old Honduran girl who spent 2 months at the government's largest emergency shelter for migrant children said she was put on suicide watch and was eating only popsicles and juice because the food smelled so foul. At another site, a 17-year-old Salvadorian girl said she had to wear the same clothes and underwear for 2 weeks and spent most days in bed. A third facility in Texas, a 16-year-old Honduran boy said he had not met with a case manager for more than 3 weeks to see whether he could go live with his sister in New Orleans. I am desperate. I wouldn't mind being here for 20 or 30 days if I wouldn't mind being here for 20 or 30 days if I knew I was going to be released soon. But because the process hasn't started and because I have no idea what's happening or when the process will start, that makes me feel very anxious. I don't know when this will end, he said. More than a dozen of illegal immigrant children describe similar conditions and desperation to get out of the large-scale emergency care facilities set up by the Biden administration at places like convention centers and military bases to address a record rise in the number of illegals, many of them claiming to be children, that are crossing the U.S.-Mexican border. I guess you could technically claim it and not be it. I mean, you could just say, I don't have an ID. And yeah, I'm 16. I'm not 42. The surge began immediately after President Joe Biden assumed office due to his rhetoric encouraging all the foreign nationals to ignore Trump-era immigration policies and federal laws. However, without an accurate plan for how to replace the policies, Biden administration quickly found itself overwhelmed by the border crisis, which some in the Democratic White House continue to refuse to acknowledge. After being appointed border czar, for instance, Vice President Kamala Harris patently refused to visit and said she focused on a more diplomatic mission in the Northern Triangle countries of Central America, where many of the thousands of immigrants flooding in daily began their journey. Nonetheless, the situation at the border remains dire, with none of the media accountability that historically attacked the prior Trump administration and accused them of putting kids in cages for far milder conditions. Because it was Trump. The children were interviewed by immigrant advocates from March to June, and their accounts were filed late Monday with a federal court in Los Angeles that oversees long-standing settlement governing custody conditions for children who cross the border alone. Advocates have said for weeks that the Biden administration is taking too long to release children to relatives in the United States, and that conditions at some of the unlicensed emergency facilities are inaccurate and distressing. The Obama and Trump administrations also face challenges addressing the care of unaccompanied migrant children. The Biden administration continues to claim that significant improvements have been made, including redoubling efforts to swiftly reunify kids with their families or move them to licensed long-term care facilities. That has resulted in a drop in the number of children in emergency shelters from a high of about 14,500 in April to fewer than 8,000 children now, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So, yeah, lots of kids. I like it how they have the little play cage right there. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I am not a fan of illegal immigration. I wasn't a fan of DACA either. It depends. DACA, you could have been 16, 17 years old and your parents brought you here. And then you get a stay because you were a kid. Versus if, let's say, you were 5 and your parents brought you in. I get that. I get that a little bit better. But even then, if I'm an adult and I have a 5-year-old with me, and I break into Disneyland because I don't have the money to pay for the ticket, let's say. I don't have the money. I'm broke. But I want my 5-year-old daughter to experience the happiest place on earth. And so we jump the wall and we get in there and we're riding all the rides and then we get busted. They're going to kick us out. Both of us. It's the same thing. So no, I'm not a fan of DACA. I'm not a fan of illegal immigration. At the same time, I am a fan of humans. And I believe everybody should be treated humanely and with respect, no matter where they're from. Judging by the content of their character, that whole thing. I love to redo high school. I'd ace it. If I redid high school, I hope it would only take me 5 years. I would love, I don't know. That whole, if you could go back and change shit, there's always like 1 or 2 things that you'd go back and change. But if you do that, if you were able to do that, it would change so many other things you don't even know about. Right? So I'm okay with how it turned out. There's some things I would have liked to did differently with my health. I would have liked to have been healthier. They are not migrants. Migrants migrate and form. They are not migrants. Migrants migrate to and from and back. I say just close the border and we won't have this problem. Yeah. But you don't understand. Well, I mean, you probably do. This is the new voter base. That's why they're flying them into red states. We've seen those articles. I've read those articles on here. They're flying migrants into red states. And eventually, at some point, they're going to make them all legal and allow them to vote. And then there will never be a problem getting whoever they want into office. That's just my opinion, but I think it's a good one. I know of a lady now whose mom brought her here when she was 2 years old. DACA should have never happened to begin with. At the same time, with my analogy with Disneyland, is it the kid's fault? No, it's not the kid's fault. Does it suck the kid has to go? It sucks. The kid was excited. The kid was seeing Disneyland. The kid was riding the rides. The kid was having fun, and now it's getting kicked out. Why? Is it the fault of Disneyland? No, it's the fault of the parent. It's the fault of the parent. Does it suck for that kid? Yes, it does. Kid doesn't deserve to be booted out of Disneyland. Didn't do nothing wrong. All the loudest bleeding heart liberals that won't allow them to stay need to personally sponsor these folks and put them up in their own homes until they can get citizenship. That's your opinion. 15 years in their homes. I'd have to go to all... Hold up, Scrappy. Let's see. I know of a lady now whose mom brought her here when she was 2 years old. DACA should have never happened to begin with. I'm trying to get your opinion on this, Scrappy. I'm not exactly... 15 years in their homes. I'd have to go to all boys school. I was a horn dog when I was in high school. Yeah. I was considered the porn king in my school because I always had porno mags under my mattress, and I was in a Christian school, a Christian boarding school. Just so you guys understand why I had a mattress at school. I was at a Christian boarding school, and pornography was not allowed. And I snuck in a lot for anybody who was willing to pay. Now, my analogy with Disneyland is a little bit different, obviously, right? That your friend there, she brought him in. She got brought in when she was 2. She grew up in America. America is her country. I get that part, right? I get that part. I understand that. I could have a conversation with that. I could. I might be, persuaded. I could change my mind. I'm not so close-minded that I couldn't say we could make some compromise here. There's got to be a cutoff, though. It can't be 18, right? At 18, well, shit. Why don't we make it at the legal consent age now? Was it 16, 14? I don't even know what it is now. I mean, if you're under 10 and you got brought in and you've been here the whole time and now you're an adult and you haven't done anything wrong, you've been a decent person, yeah, I can have that conversation. We could have those kind of conversations. But we never did have those kind of conversations. And it was just basically anybody under the age of 18, no matter what, you're DACA now. So, anyway, that's all I got for you. I'm going to go and I'm going to make me a dry-aged steak. I've never had one before. Her mom and her should have been kicked out. Her mom married a citizen to get to stay. Her kids is in limbo. Sucks to be her that her mom put her in that position. Well, you know what? Let's get a little personal. Before I go make that dried-aged steak, let me get a little personal. My daughter, and for any of my old-time viewers that watch the behind the screens with the big brother, the Countess of Cute, has married a DACA recipient. He seems like a great guy. I have nothing wrong with him. He treats her well. He is a hard worker. He's trying to get a citizenship, so I'm applauding him of that. He's doing everything he's got to do that. We're not sure if he's going to get it through that way or because they got married. Now, I didn't know this, and apparently a lot of people don't know this. When you get married to a DACA member or, somebody from another country, they don't immediately become a citizen. And I kind of knew that. I mean, they have to ask you questions and shit, right? But apparently it's a whole process, too. It takes like a couple years. So, it's a close thing to my heart. He's a great guy. He treats her well so far. She doesn't have any complaints. If he ever mistreats her, he'll be dead. But at the same time, he's a hard worker. He's a provider. He goes to Lady Gaga concerts with her. So I mean, what can you ask for, right? What can you ask for? So I don't know. As I said, it's one of those things. It's not an easy answer. And I'm willing to I'd be willing to, people to have that conversation. And I'd be all right changing my position a little bit on it. And I think it has over the years. Before I thought, no, never. And maybe it's because my daughter married one and he's a good dude. I don't know. Maybe that's it. But I do think there's got to be an age cutoff. It can't be 18 and under, or 17 and almost 18 and under. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure to check out all the links down below. We have all the causes I believe in and support. The PH Association is one that is very close to my heart, as that is what I suffer with, pulmonary hypertension. It is high blood pressure of the right side of your heart, or is it the left? I think it's the right. It's a different kind of high blood pressure. It's caused because I have a pressure in my lungs that makes the right side of my heart work harder. There is no cure. I will die from it. I don't know how long I'll have. My doctor seems to think at least 20 years. You can get a lung transplant, but then when you get the lung transplant, well, first of all, you got to be on a waiting list. That's going to take forever. I know people have been on it for 10 years. I'm not put on that list yet because I'm not needing it yet. But once I get put on that, things are going to be bad. I don't know if I'll be able to, I don't want to get into that right now. Anyway, PH Association, if you want to know more about it, go read up on it. It's not great. It's a very rare disease, and because it's a rare disease, there's not a lot of programs out there trying to find a cure. And so I'm going to be dedicating a lot more of my streams, especially my gaming streams and stuff, to raising awareness about this disease, since it is one that I have. and trying to get people to donate, and maybe we'll find a cure. We found before they did find a treatment that extended your life. So before the 90s, I guess it was in the 90s, before this new medical pill that they got, and I'll tell you what the pill is soon. Before they found a way to increase your life with pH, you got a pH you got pH, you had 5 years. 5. And you were dead. Now with this medication, people are living over 20. So it's a good thing. And that happened because of, pH association, I think, or something like that, or people like that. So that's one's close to my heart. The GOA is a gun organization, obviously, the Gun Owners of America, and that's one that I support because they're actively going out and trying to make sure we still get to keep bump stocks and pistol braces and stuff like that. We have ProjectRecover.org, an organization that goes out and looks for lost service members and returns the remains to their families. And then we have my good friend Irish USMC Vet. What's up, Irish? How you doing? And half of anything you donate to this channel goes directly to Irish USMC Vet, Rally Point Irish, because I believe in that one that much. He's trying to start up a location in Tennessee where vets can stay room and board free while learning a new skill like farming, blacksmithing, and gunsmithing and other stuff. And I do believe in that a lot. In fact, if you want to donate to my channel, there are links to do that down below. As I said, 50% of that goes to him directly, but if you're going to donate to me, just donate to him. He needs more of that. I want him to see that dream fulfilled, and I want to see that dream fulfilled. So I would love that. HDP is hosting a live later. Cool. Thank you. I'm probably going to be busy. I'm going to be cooking up a dry age steak. I've never had dry age before, and tonight is what I'm going to be doing. Wow, 5 going to 20. Yeah, it's a great leap. And it's a great medication. So the medication, y'all remember a little blue pill that was invented a while back that they're like, oh, this was originally created for a heart condition. But we found out it has an interesting side effect. Yeah. Yeah. And the people that have pH are on a double dose. So I am always ready to go. I'm pointing the way right now. What's up, Gerald? How you doing? Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow night on Poison Stinger 2 and on D-Live for the evening catch-up. Until then, make sure to keep that family close, watch out for that government, and try to live as free as you can with the life you have left in this tyrannical world that we find ourselves living in. Film that never heard of a dry age. Film that never heard. You've never heard of a dry age steak? I ain't filming shit. I bought it. I didn't make it. So, yeah. Well, I'm not on that one. But I am on one that's basically like that. That was like the first one that they did, and I guess they came up with shit that was better. But it does the same shit. Yeah, pretty much. So the dry age steak, well, you should check that out. We didn't dry age it ourselves, although you can do that, and I thought about doing it, but we thought instead of doing a dry age ourselves first, we're going to try one that was already dry aged and see if we like it. Now, if we like it, we will probably get the stuff to do it ourselves. But the whole process is wasteful, a little bit wasteful, not too much. Hit the rowing machine tonight. You going to hit it up? Man, you grew up cool. Dude, I heard of it only because I've been watching videos on cooking. And when you see it, if you go onto YouTube and you look up dry aged steaks, it looks disgusting. But supposedly that you trim off the disgusting parts and you're left with supposedly a more meaty, condensed, tender steak with a unique flavor. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I gotta go make some food. We'll see you guys later. Peace.